wide receivers for Chicago. Out of the shotgun, McMahon has pressure. Hank, the word off the Chicago bench is that Jim McMahon has a strained knee, and it's doubtful right now that he'll return.
I want to get out there and play. I want to show the guys that I'm the guy that's going to take us to the Super Bowl. I'm the guy that's going to get us to the playoffs.
It's his job for now. And I don't think I did anything to lose my job. A lot of guys get hurt and come back and play, so that's what I expect to do.
Forget about the Bronx Zoo. The Bears are running amok again. No matter that Chicago has clinched the NFC Central Division title, two of their most valuable players don't like one another, not one little bit. And they've taken to talking on the radio in Chicago. Defensive end Dan Hampton and the often injured quarterback Jim McMahon.
If we keep waiting on someone that is not more or less concerned with our future, I think we're just lost. So I tell you what, Tom Zach seems to be the guy that has got everything going for us right now, and I couldn't be happier.
That's pretty typical, though.
Hampton?
Well, you know, he lipped off a couple years ago in '86. You know, everybody else knew my arm was hurting. I eventually had surgery, so that proved, you know, how stupid he was to say the things that he said. So, you know, I don't really care what Dan Hampton says. I mean, he's, you know, that's the way he is. He's out for himself. He's just whining because he didn't make the Pro Bowl.
That's October, but that nothing bearing in there. That's in the past. What Montana did, what McMahon did in October, nobody cares about it. I mean, it's what can you do for me now?
Jim's 29 years old, and I think a lot of what's going on right now is a little bit of a concern about his future. A little fear maybe that if the Bears don't want him, he would be hard to trade because he's had so many injuries. And that is something that Mike Ditka brought up, and one of the reasons for starting Tom Zach, one of the reasons for drafting Harbaugh was that they could not rely on Jim McMahon being there, and they could not count on him for a full season. And so now the young Tom Zach, he has the job, and Jim, quite honestly, is concerned that he may be out of here. And Vern, he told us, I don't want to leave Chicago. I don't want to leave the Bears. This is my home. I just built a brand new 10,000 square foot mansion, whatever that thing costs.
Matter of fact, he said if it comes to trade talks, he might think about retiring and not leaving Chicago, but he also said in the next sentence, if it does come to a trade, I will demand an okay of that trade.
Got some big trades in the works. It seems as if the San Diego Chargers have been talking to just about everybody that moves. One of the teams that's moving, the Chicago Bears. And it's a trade that might involve Jim McMahon, veteran quarterback of the Bears, going to the Chargers for a #1 pick. It hasn't happened yet, but it may in just a couple moments out at Lake Forest, Illinois at Bears headquarters, which is where our good friend Pete Axthelm is. Good morning, Ax.
Good morning, Chris. With my incredible instinct for news and sheer luck, I do happen to be sitting on top of the big story of the draft. It looks like McMahon's going to San Diego for 2 top draft choices, which right now Mike Ditka, Bill Tobin, the personnel director, and owner Mike McCaskey are in a meeting. They have not finalized it yet. As soon as they do, they'll be joining me. Let's go to Andrea Kramer. She's with McMahon's agent, Steve Zucker.
Thanks, Pete. We are here at the home of Steve Zucker in suburban Chicago. It is to be a day to celebrate draft picks to come, but one of Steve's greatest prizes has been Jim McMahon, and it looks as though, Steve, he may be heading out of Chicago. What do you hear? Can we substantiate any sort of rumors?
No, the rumors have been going on for some time. They seem to be really heating up today, though, and there's always a possibility. If Jim were to go anywhere, San Diego is the place he'd like to go.
What has transpired up to now? Have you talked to anybody? Has Jim talked to anybody?
No, we have not, and it's all, we've been hearing the rumors all morning long, and we're just going to respond to them as things break, but I guess that's up to the Bears in San Diego as to what they work out.
This is about the biggest bombshell that could have been dropped. Let's quickly go to you, Joe. McMahon to San Diego. Does this make sense?
No, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. It's a great deal for Jim McMahon because he gets to play golf, which he loves to do very much. He gets to go to San Diego, which is a very nice place to live. But the Chicago getting another #1 it just doesn't make any sense. They got a ton of #1s. That'll give them their 21st pick in the entire draft. I don't think it's a good deal for the Chargers. It's one of those deals where the player gets what he wants, and the team is only getting a quick fix. If he gets hurt and he hasn't proven he can play a full season, that means they're stuck right back where they were.
So, Tommy, you're the Bears now. I mean, now you're going to get 4 #1 picks. You had 2 last year. Still, you're a defensive player in the Chicago Bears. Isn't McMahon still your leader in some ways? What are you thinking if you wake up this morning and they tell you Jim McMahon's no longer on your team?
I don't know. I think that the controversy that started last year between McMahon and some of the defensive players, I don't think they would be hurt by the fact that McMahon would leave. Tomczak certainly seems like he's ready to play. As Joe has said, the last thing they need is another #1 round draft choice. He's going to go to San Diego. I don't think it's a good deal for San Diego either. I think that what it is a situation where they're going to get some leadership. They're going to get a guy who can throw the ball, but how often will he be in the game? And that's the last question every player asks on the football field.
What's the latest from Winnetka, Illinois? Andrea Kramer's at the home of McMahon's agent, Steve Zucker. Anything cooking there, Andrea?
Well, Chris, Jim McMahon is upstairs. He said that he has no comment to make when and until some sort of deal is culminated. Right now, there's no news. Let's go to the Bears camp with Pete Exum and see if there's any news there.
Very little, except the fact that McMahon has, on local television, made some statements which are basically sayonara. He thinks he's out of Chicago. He thinks it's a done deal. Ditka is still in meetings. We're waiting to hear from him specifically. I have to repeat what I said on game day this morning, that you think of Jim McMahon, the headbands, the flair, the style, and they can just brush him aside. It seems as though they raised the price of fame. Back in Lake Forest with Mike Ditka, and Mike, you got 2 solid defensive picks, but with everything that's happened there, you could have taken Godzilla, and it wouldn't overshadow the rumors we've lived with since this morning about McMahon. What's the story?
Well, basically, that's more than... They were rumors, but there were discussions that went on with San Diego. And, of course, like in everything else, if one team wants an orchard for an apple tree, it's not going to work. But, you know, our whole ambition, Pete, and to be honest with you, is to keep this football team as positive mentally and physically as we can and put the right people into the program. And we've tried to do that, and we're going to continue to try to do that. And people who don't want to be part of our program will be part of another program. It's that simple. And it doesn't matter who it is anymore. You know, people think that's cold and calculating, but it's a part of life. It's a fact of life. We love the people who play for us. We love the people more who want to play for us, even than those who do. I said that they really want to. So that's always been important with the Bears, and that will always continue to be important. So if we make a trade or we make a change in our football team, the whole 45, 47 players are what's concerned, and not just the one individual.
I have heard in the month leading up to the draft, several executives around the league have told me that they've been under the impression McMahon has been shopped, that you were looking for a deal. Is that accurate?
Well, anybody who's called us about him, we've talked to him. That's all that's ever happened. We have never initiated the trade. We have never gone out and said, hey, we have a guy that will trade you. And we've never done that. The other teams that were involved, in this case San Diego, came to us. Now, regardless if they want to say that, that's their business, but they did, and that's where we're at with the situation right now.
Of course, we've all chronicled the story of Tomczak and the difficulties he's overcome in terms of confidence and so forth. Is this going to shake his confidence to hear that there's questions about who's going to be quarterback?
No, let me tell you something. You know, the only thing Mike's overcome is you know, he's had a little problem sometimes in dealing with the way I handle him, but that's not necessarily Mike's fault. That could be my fault more than anybody's. But I think the thing about Mike, I think this excites him even more. I think it excites Jim Harbaugh even more. I think that those guys thrive on competition. You know, the great people in life, Pete, you thrive on competition. It means something to you. Anybody that doesn't want to compete shouldn't play.
Okay. Who is going to play next year? Is there any way we can predict right now?
Well, right now we're going into camp, and we said if we go into camp with the 3 quarterbacks we have on our roster, we'll look at the first 2 objectively, which will be Mike Tomczak and Jim McMahon, and then Jim Harbaugh will fit in where he fits in. I think right now he's going in the coach's eyes, as the backup to whoever is the starter, but that doesn't mean it'll come out that way. Knowing what I know about Jim Harbaugh, he's liable to make a pretty good run at everything. So I just don't feel like a lot of people in the media has done to us. You know, we've been pumped up as being a one-dimensional football team that we can only win with 1 quarterback on the field. Well, we've also lost with that 1 quarterback on the field in crucial games. So, you know, Mike Tomczak's record as a football player is very good. Jim Harbaugh's is 500. He's 1-1. So, you know, I got, you know, what can I tell you? If he plays 10, maybe he'll be 9-1. I don't know.
The Chicago Bears traded quarterback Jim McMahon to the San Diego Chargers. The Bears will receive a draft choice from San Diego depending on how much McMahon plays. This means Mike Tomczak and Jim Harbaugh will fight for the starting Chicago job. McMahon will compete against Charger quarterback Mark Malone, who used to play for the Steelers, David Archer, and Billy Joe Tolliver.
There have been 14 quarterbacks to win a Super Bowl. Only 1 has been traded before he was 30, which is yourself. Yet you seem to know that this was all going to be inevitable.
Well, I felt it coming the last about a year and a half. You know, they were unhappy with me for some reason or the other, and you know, I was prepared for it. I felt it really coming on to start a training camp. You know, I knew I wasn't getting a fair shot. No matter what I did, I was not going to be the starter here. So I'm glad things worked out the way they did.
You don't think you could have won a job?
Didn't matter what I did, and I felt I was having a good camp. I got one series last week in the game, and I made the most of it. You know, it took 11 minutes before I got off the field, so it really didn't matter.
You're a proven winner, fearless leader. I mean, the kind of guy who walked into a huddle with a lacerated kidney to inspire his teammates. Yet, where did you and Ditka not see eye to eye?
Well, I think it started back in '86. I hurt my shoulder the first game of the year. I should have never played again before I got it fixed. I kept trying to play throughout the year, and some days it would feel okay, some days it wouldn't. And I don't think they believed I was hurt. I mean, he actually told me that to my face. He thought I was faking. So I think our relationship started deteriorating at that point.
What happened, though, that you guys didn't even talk during training camp? That surprised some people, at least.
No, not if you know Mike Ditka doesn't. He doesn't really talk to you unless he's got something to say. And most of the things that were said were fairly negative, so I didn't really have anything to say to him.
Yet, after Super Bowl 20, he went so far as to say that you should have gotten the MVP ahead of Richard Dent. Why would he want to trade a guy who's a Super Bowl winning quarterback?
Well, he's got his own ideas, and you know, he told me they were going in a different direction and they wanted somebody else, so you know, I can live with that. And I feel I got a lot of good years left, and it'd be nice to go somewhere where you're appreciated. I'm not bitter. In fact, I wanted out myself. You know, I saw this coming. What was funny is the day I got home from Platteville on Thursday, I talked to my attorney and I asked him to get something done. You know, I'm not going to play here, and I want to get traded. And actually, the deal was in the works that night. So, not from us. They were already discussing it. So I got a call the next morning, said I was traded. I was pretty happy.
Steve Zucker, your attorney, mentioned that you wanted to go to San Diego. Why would you want to go into a situation where they're rebuilding and you've got an unproven offensive line where you could take a lot of punishment?
Well, the big reason was Ted Tollner. I worked with Ted Tollner in college. I know the type of coach he is, the type of person he is, and you know, if you're going to get traded, why not to San Diego? The weather's great. I've always played well in that stadium. You know, it just seemed like a good situation to go to. You know, it's easy to go to a winner, but to go to a team that's struggling and see if you can do something, it's a big challenge.